Hello everyone, welcome to this Facebook Live. You made it, this is Facebook Live. My name is Seconde Nimenya. Last month, I kicked off a celebration for my book, Evolving Through Adversities, 5 years anniversary, with the Facebook Live. So this month is another celebration where we talk about the month of March, which is, you already know what March is for. March is Women's History Month, mostly celebrated around the world on March 8th and as the International Women's Day, this Thursday. So I thought maybe on this Facebook Live, we talk about women. We celebrate women around the world, what women have accomplished over time, where women have been and where they are today and where they are going. So this is a reflection journey, and this is also a celebration. We take time to think where we've been, the issues that affect women worldwide, and what kind of solution we can bring to that, the contributions we can make to impact the world. So I hope you share your perspectives and your thoughts, and let me know if you have any questions. Submit in the comment section. That's where I will read your comments and your questions and address it as we go along. For me, the Women's International Day, the Women's History Month, is a time where I think about where I was as a young girl. I was raised mostly by women. My grandmother raised me. I grew up with women, and I saw how women in those days, in those places, were treated. Things have improved over time, but we still have more than 50% of women around the world facing issues of extreme poverty, issues of domestic violence, issues of violence due to wars. And according to the United Nations, the High Commission for Refugees, women amount around 50% of displaced people in the world. So we still have issues, even though women have made some progress in many societies, beginning with the right to vote, the right to go to school, the right to run for public office, become presidents, and some are already leading the countries and governments. Women are leading big corporations around the world. We still cannot forget or ignore that many women around the world live in extreme poverty and don't have basic access. They don't have basic access to education. They don't have access to things to uplift themselves and their families, and are the most affected and vulnerable to violence and other types of abuse. Girls especially are the most vulnerable to misdeeds committed against girls in many societies. We still have countries and societies and cultures that practice things like trafficking, human trafficking. It affects mostly young girls. We still have things like FGM, what's called FGM, or female genital mutilation. Things like that, practices like that in some cultures that are still really hindering the girl child, preventing them to get an education, to grow into womanhood. Some are forced into marriage as children. They become married children, and they have children of their own before they are even fully grown. And they become mothers, usually to many children. when they are still children themselves. So all these issues are still present in our global society. Yes, we celebrate the accomplishments women have made, but we also want to think, what can we do to uplift women around the world who still live in those predicaments, who are still hindered by cultural practices, by government practices, by domestic violence, even in their own homes and communities. So I hope you share perspectives and thoughts as we go along. And I want to welcome everyone who's joined so far. And I hope you spend some time and, share, and so we can continue this conversation. So what is the International Women's Day and why is it celebrated? What does it mean to you personally? What does this day mean to you personally? Even if you are not a woman, you have women in your life, Who are the women in your life? What role do they play in your life? We have mothers, grandmothers, daughters, sisters. We have women in our lives. What role women play in your life, in your relationships? How do you treat women in your relationships, in your home, in your community and your world? So all of these are things we can talk about. And I hope you share your perspectives as well. We have some solutions, because when there is a problem, there is also a solution, usually. Beginning with ourselves as women. How do we see ourselves? How do we take care of ourselves? I speak on issues, when I speak on issues about women, I usually begin with, what can you do before you even claim your place in the world? What can you do for yourself? How do you love yourself? Do you even love yourself? Some of us grew up in communities and societies where loving yourself sounds really unethical almost. It's like, how can you love yourself? It's bad to love yourself. If you're a woman, you're supposed to take care of everybody else, to nurture society. And that's a good thing, because that's a gift women have been created with. But at the same time, we forget to take care of ourselves. Because loving yourself is not selfish, as it is often misconstrued or misunderstood. Loving yourself is good so you can have more to love others. Because when you love yourself, you have more love to give to others. Women usually don't think in terms of self, because self almost means selfish. No, loving yourself is not selfish. So how do you treat yourself? How do you treat others? Basically comes from how you treat yourself. So if you're just joining, we're talking about Women's History Month, and celebrated on International Women's Day on March 8th, this Thursday. We're talking about the progress women have made around the world and the challenges they still face today, and the potential solutions we can all bring to bring a positive impact for women in the world. So I was talking to a young lady a few months ago, and she really said something that touched me, because she said, Seconde, I wish we still have elderly women we can talk to when we have issues of our own. I said, yeah, we still have elderly women in the society. But then she continued and said, yes, I know, but it seems like older women who should be the wisest, and they are the wisest, but they also are having issues of their own, which really makes it hard to bring your own issues to talk to an elderly woman, because we have elderly in an older population now that is, depending where you live, some older women still have that, place in their society where they are respected. But in other societies, we kind of view older women as a burden. And the caring work that is needed for the elderly, we put them in homes, and but if we keep them home, it's also up to the women to do that caring work. And whether you work from home or outside the home, it seems like women are expected to work more on household chores or caring workload more than their male counterpart. So this is not to blame men, but this is to bring men into the conversation. We can only change practices and things if we talk about it. Because empowering women is not just a woman's issue, it's also a man's issue. Because when women are empowered, they bring that empowerment back into their families and into their societies, into their communities, and the country as a whole benefits when women are empowered. We need to bring more educational opportunities for girls to have an education. Both formal and informal education are needed for girls. Because when you educate a girl, she becomes a woman, and she brings back the positive empowerment to her family, to her community, to her country. So this is a societal issue. It's not just a woman's issue. So what do you think? Hi, I see someone just joined, Patrick. Hi, Patrick. Hi, Carol. Hi, Elva. Anyone else joining us? We're talking about women's empowerment as we celebrate Women's History Month. Yeah. So when we educate girls, they become empowered women who bring back the empowerment into their societies. The thing sometimes that's misunderstood is really to think that, oh, okay, we're talking about women too much, empowering women, as if it means empowering women is disempowering men. No. That's the opposite. When you empower women, you are by default empowering men. So it's a societal issue. It's not a women's issue anymore, because it affects the whole foundation of our families, of our communities, of our countries, and of our world. So empowering women doesn't mean disempowering men. It means the opposite. It's empowering the whole society. So men need to be part of this conversation to empower women, to empower girls, to let the girl child be a child, not a woman before she's ready, not marry her off before she's ready. Empowering women also means giving them space to hear their stories, because their stories matter. We need more men to open doors for women and hear their stories and empower them from their point of view, where they are in life. Even here in the United States, one of the richest countries in the world, women still have ways to go when it comes to issues such as the gender pay gap, for example. We've recently seen other issues, and it's not just in the United States, these issues that have been uncovered recently by the Me Too movement when it comes to sexual harassment, for example. These are issues that affect women worldwide, and we need to open space for women to be heard and for men to be a voice of reason and a voice of empowerment, and to work together as a society, not just think, oh, it's just for women, you know. No, this is for the society. I promise that in the end, I'm going to read an excerpt from a chapter that's related to this event, Women's History Month or Women International Day. And if you have questions, please post them as we go, and I will make sure I keep an eye on it and let you know what I think. And also share your comments, share your thoughts. How can we uplift women around the world? What can we do? What can we do to empower women, to uplift them economically, socially? What can we do to uplift families? Because like I said, this affects not just women, it affects the whole society as a whole. It doesn't matter where you are. It affects all of us. Ending the gender power struggle is a good thing, because then we know we're not working just for women or just for men. We're working for the whole structure of families and societies and communities. What else can we do? Use your voice, using your voice to be an empowerment for the voiceless in the world. You know, some of us have the privilege to have access to communications just like this on Facebook, for example. And if you have a smartphone, you can use it to elevate women who don't have access to that smartphone. You can use your voice for the voiceless in the world. Because really, when you do something that doesn't impact you personally, to me, that's true privilege. That's true privilege. When you do something about an issue that doesn't affect you personally. So keep this conversation going, and I'm going to read an excerpt from the book, as I promised. It's chapter 12, and it's from Evolving Through Adversity. Chapter 12, Commemorating International Women's Day. Leadership is action, not position. Donald McGannon. As a newcomer, I felt that part of my isolation was because we immigrants were disconnected from the communities we lived in. So in March of 2003, I had an idea for how to celebrate International Women's Day. I thought if I could organize something that could bring people together, immigrants, local, provincial, and federal government representatives, we could talk, have fun, and get to know each other. I organized the event with the help of a group of immigrant women from Burundi, Rwanda, Congo, and other countries in East Africa. We put together poetry, music, and dance. Food was catered by the community center, which agreed to rent us its space. I got the Rwandan kids to perform their traditional dances, which is always a delight to watch. With space, food, music, dancing, and participants, I was all set to prepare the speeches in English and French, because I wanted or non-French speakers to be included. I crafted invitations on my word processor and wrote the speeches on my computer at home. I invited Honorable Member of Federal Parliament, Susan Whalen, because my town at that time belonged to her constituency. I also sent an invitation to the Ontario Minister of Social Services and member of Provincial Parliament, at that time was Sandra Pupatelo, and many other community leaders. I contacted the media and the local Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, CBC, television, agreed to come and see whether there was any interesting news to cover. And because of the dignitaries I had invited, CBC came. On March 8, 2003, I woke up at 7 a.m., got ready, and put on my Burundi ceremonial attire. I had everything set up. I had rehearsed my speeches in both English and French, and I had called anyone who needed to be called. We were so ready to kick off some fun on the International Women's Day. I was a little anxious about the turnout, but I had never seen such an attendance. Men, women, and children, and everyone in between came dressed in their favorite colorful outfits, as if going to a great ceremony. And they were on time. Not the African time. No, the North American time. I was almost floating with pride that my people didn't let me down. A family friend had agreed to film the event for free, so that was another service I didn't have to pay for. Everyone was so beautiful. My heart was pounding with gratitude for the people who showed up. After everybody was settled, the Master of Ceremony introduced the event and the respective speakers. I was to be the first major speaker with my bilingual speech carefully placed in my folder. Trying to appear calm and collected, I went onto the podium. As I spoke my opening lines, my voice began to betray me. I could hear myself starting to shake, as if my throat were squeezed and no air. I tried to clear it, but the shaking in my voice became consistent, as if I might cry. Oh, God, please, I don't want to cry in front of these people. I am the one who started this whole thing and invited them. They could be somewhere else, but they chose to come and give me a chance and hear what the fuss is all about. Please, God, help my voice be strong and keep my emotions in check, okay? As I pleaded with God, I felt a certain calmness, and I felt held together. So I started to recognize the invitees, Honorable Susan Whalen, honorable community leaders representing their respective organizations, brothers and sisters. We are here today to celebrate International Women's Day. Then I tried to lighten up the atmosphere. I braced myself and said, "Oh, I am sorry if you missed your morning nap this Saturday. You can blame it on me." People laughed and some even applauded. And that really did it. I felt the energy lift. So I talked about the meaning of such a day for myself and many other women across the globe. I cited all the important men and women who had suffered hardships before us to make sure women could vote, go to school, and occupy important positions in government or private sectors. I talked about Harriet Tubman, who had made 13 missions to rescue slaves using the network of anti-slavery activists and safe houses, or better known as the Underground Railroad. I cited all the important men and women who had helped shape the history of women's rights. These were the reasons that we celebrated International Women's Day. Then I turned to issues that needed more work to ensure that women could claim an even better future for themselves and be less financially dependent or be less treated like second-class citizens. These were the most important reasons why I had been compelled to organize this day. As I talked about how immigrant women were being treated, my voice trailed off again, and I choked up a little. Oh God, please, I can't afford to cry here. I am at the podium, for goodness sake. I took one deep breath, as if oxygen might be unavailable for the next 24 hours. And smoothly, I exhaled. I felt a peaceful breeze, and I continued my speech with even more vigor in my voice. I could see that the audience was moved. The high-ranking officials tried not to show emotions, but I could feel them closer to me. I could feel everyone was touched by my speech. I concluded thanking all of them for coming, and the message to take home was, let's work together for immigrant women's advancement, and let's make it a societal issue and not an individual issue. The day in itself was to evaluate how far we had come and how far we could go. The ceremony served as a bonding opportunity with all members of the communities we lived in. It helped to raise awareness that most immigrant women were isolated and lonely, and some of them didn't even speak English, and they needed to feel they belonged. I thanked the audience and returned to my seat. That's an excerpt from chapter 12, but if you want to read the whole chapter or the whole book, just let me know and I will share links where you can order a copy. So if you have questions, let me just read what we have so far. Elva says, I believe we can utilize International Women's Week by honoring the communal strength of women. Women support other women. Use your platform. Use your platform, shed your light on gender empowerment. Yes, I couldn't have said it better. This is wonderful. And Carmel, hi Camille, says, sending love to you and all the resilient women around the world. Mwah. Yes, that's for all of you women around the world. You are resilient, you are the nurturers of our society, and you should be praised. So I honor you. I honor every single woman in my life and every single woman in this world. I honor my friends, my mentors, and I also want to honor one of my mentors. He's not a woman, he's a man. His name is Leonoski. Hi, Leo. So Leo just joined us on this broadcast, and I met Leo in 2014 after I had published this book, Evolving Through Adversity. And we met in an event where I was speaking, and Leo saw my message and heard my message, and wanted to help me craft the best way to share my message. He's a speaking coach, so he was my speaking coach, and he's the best of, one of the best I know. One of the things you said, Leo, was you told me that my story had layers, and I agree. And when you start coaching me, one thing you told me I've never forgotten was, so God, you have to treat your story like an onion. I said, onion, why? I'm not cooking it. Then you said, yes, you have to peel back the layers of your story, just like peeling back the layers of an onion. So I'm forever grateful for you, for your mentorship, for your friendship, and for your coaching. So I hope we can continue this conversation. It doesn't have to end with this broadcast. We can continue this conversation online, and even after I share this video, make sure you share with your friends and families, and let's empower one another. This is what it is about, sharing our stories and sharing how the life lessons we've learned along the way, so we can, go to the school of life together. That's what this is all about. And if we don't have any more questions, I will just end the broadcast, but you can still send your comments and questions after I share this video, and share with your friends and families, and continue the conversation on your own networks as well. The Women's History Month is the whole month of March. We have Women's History Month, Women's History Week, Women's International Day. So all of those are opportunities to be able to share our life lessons that we've learned on our journey. Thank you for those who are on this live broadcast, and thank you for those who are going to come on my next broadcast, which will be on April 3rd at 9:30 Pacific time. And you can adjust, in the morning, you can adjust accordingly to your time zone, obviously. So thank you so much for being a part of this Facebook Live, and I look forward to sharing with you more, and reading from you as well, and learning from you. Always remember, who you are matters. Thank you so much, and I look forward to meeting you again. See ya.